doesn't happen like this every time, but often we feel resentment toward another person because of something we are doing or not doing. If that feels like a little bit of an ouch, I get it. It did for me when I first learned this truth, but today I'm being very candid about the real reason you feel resentment and how to change it. Hey lady, welcome to the Highly Sensitive Woman podcast. Do you struggle with self-doubt, setting boundaries, or feeling overwhelmed? My name is Alyssa, and I'm a highly sensitive woman who spent years trying to fit in, ignoring my own needs, and living in constant fear of disappointing others. But I finally discovered the power of embracing who I am, and now I don't feel so broken. In this podcast, you'll learn to find your voice, set boundaries, and live with bold confidence and inner peace. Grab a cozy blanket. It's time to connect with someone just like you. I am so honored that you are here and you are listening, whatever you may be doing while you're listening. If you are driving or you are going for a walk, I just am honored that you are joining me for this conversation, and I want to give a big congratulations to Tasha in Canada for being the winner of my favorite book giveaway. I wanted to share her review. Tasha writes, I love Alyssa's simple steps to becoming more confident. Sometimes it really does start with the small things and creating sort of a bucket list and setting goals. Alyssa understands and hears you because she was that fearful woman and is having victory. She is a woman of encouragement and inspiration. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Tasha. I was that fearful woman, and it feels really good to not be living from a place of fear anymore. Although that fear does pop up from time to time. I'm not going to pretend like it doesn't, but it doesn't rule me anymore. And it feels wonderful to be sharing this with all of you. And I just thank you all again for tuning in and listening to the Highly Sensitive Woman podcast. Today, things are getting a little prickly. I like that word. That's one that my coach gave me because we are talking about resentment. And I mentioned in the opening that oftentimes when we are feeling resentment toward another person, it is because of something that we are doing or not doing. And we don't usually like feeling resentment toward another person. And we also don't usually like ourselves very much for feeling that way towards this other person. You know, maybe your coworker, you love her very much. You think that she is great to work with, but you feel some resentment toward her because she got a raise and you didn't. Or maybe you have some resentment toward the person who easily says no while you are exhausted from constantly saying yes. Or maybe there was a time that you finally got the courage to say no to someone, but that person, they know that you don't want to do it, and yet they continue to ask you to do whatever it is that you've said no to yet again. I used to go through life with just this undercurrent of irritation all the time, and I didn't really understand why I felt the way that I was feeling. But when I heard the quote by Neil Strauss, my mind was blown. And if you've been listening to previous episodes, you've heard it before. And this quote is, unspoken expectations are premeditated resentments. This was me to a T. And if I'm honest, I think a lot of the people with whom I used to have relationships, whether it was friends, romantic partners, whatever, they were also going through life with these unspoken expectations and premeditated resentments. We were just always trying to keep things in, trying not to rock the boat, tell ourselves it's not a big deal, just pick your battles. And we just found ourselves resenting each other all the time. But when you speak your expectations out loud, you give the other people a chance to respond and negotiate and meet them willingly, because that is what I have found is most of the time people don't think that the things that we want or desire are really all that unreasonable. So they're pretty willing to meet them or at least negotiate and find a nice happy middle, and we can just avoid that silent frustration that can build into resentment over time. So some tips to speak up and share your expectations so that you can avoid resentment. First, check in with yourself before you speak up. Before you are expressing those expectations, get very clear on what you are really hoping for. Sometimes that resentment builds because we haven't even fully defined what it is that we want or need. Notice any sensations that you are having in your body and thoughts that you're having about the situation, and just be really curious about what those sensations and thoughts are telling you. Maybe you're sitting in a work meeting and you are feeling really tense. Be curious, why am I feeling tense about this meeting? Maybe the thought that you're having is, oh, I'm expecting my ideas to be acknowledged. Okay, so I need to voice that respectfully, but just being curious about it helps you express the real expectation because you have gotten clear on it for yourself instead of reacting in a very emotional or vague way. Because we tend to, as people pleasers, as highly sensitive women, we tend to be pretty vague because we don't want to rock the boat and we might be a little bit overstimulated, and so we're trying to choose our words so carefully, and then it's unclear to the other person. So by checking in with yourself and kind of regulating your body sensations and getting very clear about what it is that you want, it is easier to then express it if you know exactly what it is that you want to be expressing. The second thing is to be proactive. If you can be proactive and state what it is that you want before you reach the point of being frustrated or disappointed, it's going to come out better because it won't be in the heat of the moment. But also, it's not as clear. This is another thing that can get in the way of it being very clear for the other person, is if you wait until you're already feeling that frustration, then it comes out in the heat of the moment. And maybe the delivery doesn't land like you would like for it to because the other person then gets defensive. And as much as we would like for them to, on certain occasions, people cannot read our minds. So when I'm saying be clear, one example of that would be, instead of saying, I wish you would help more around the house, be very explicitly clear, when I prepare meals, could you wash the dishes and clean up the kitchen? Right? That very clearly states what it is that you would like for the other person to do. And then once you've stated it, ask for their buy-in, their agreement. Check in with the other person to see if they are actually on the same page and willing to meet this expectation. Maybe the person is willing to wash the dishes, but they're not so thrilled about cleaning up the kitchen by themselves. This gives you the opportunity to negotiate. Does this work for you? If not, what would work for you? And that buy-in allows the other person to feel like they are part of the conversation versus this expectation just kind of being dumped on them, and then they might start to have some resentment toward you. And finally, just normalize regular conversations about having expectations. Instead of waiting for issues to arise, make expectation setting just part of the normal way that you communicate. It removes the awkwardness and it just sort of sets the tone for clear communication that is kind of the default setting and not something that you do after the fact or as like a last resort. And the reality is, people don't often realize that they're not meeting your expectations. And it's not because they don't care, but they simply just operate from different assumptions or different priorities. Each one of us, while we can relate to a lot of things as being highly sensitive women, we all have unique life experiences. No two of us have the combined sum total of all of the same life experiences. And same is true of all of the people we interact with on a day-to-day basis. So we each come with our own assumptions, our own priorities, our own perceptions of things based on the life experiences that we have had. So when you explicitly name what matters to you, it gives the other person a chance to rise to your level and not be trying to guess or read your mind. I just want to say thank you again for listening. It truly is an honor for me to get to share my life experiences and wisdom that I have learned through all of those experiences with you. And if you would like to have a conversation about working together and learning how to set expectations so that you can avoid resentment in your relationships, now is the time. Through the end of this month, June 30th, 2025, I'm offering buy one, get one free coaching sessions to be used through September 30th of 25. You can send me a message to info@lifecoachalissa.com. Take care. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If so, would you take 30 seconds and share it with a friend who may be feeling like she's broken too? I'd love it if you'd leave a quick review for the show on Apple Podcasts. It brings me so much joy to know this podcast is helping you. Now it's time for me to stop talking and go soothe my senses in nature. I'll meet you back here next week for another episode. Take care.